CSA Czech Airlines AS is the national airline of the Czech Republic. Its head office on the grounds of Václav Havel Airport Prague in Ruzyně, Prague. CSA was the second airline in the world to initiate successful jet airliner services and simultaneously the first airline to fly regular jet-only routes. Today, it operates scheduled, charter and cargo services. The airline runs a frequent flyer program called OK Plus in reference to the airline's IATA designation, as well as the term of approval. OK also featured prominently in its previous livery, and is the prefix for the Czech Republic on aircraft registrations. It is a member of the SkyTeam alliance. Czech Airlines is the subsidiary of Czech Airlines, a group of companies that operate in air transportation and related ground handling services. Other subsidiaries of Czech Airlines are Prague Airport, the operator of the international airport Prague Ruzyně, Czech Airlines Technics providing services in technical maintenance of aircraft, and Czech Airlines Handling providing passenger and aircraft handling. History. CSA was founded on October 6, 1923, by the Czechoslovak government as CSA Česká Slovenská copyright Státní airline. 23 days later its first transport flight took place, flying between Prague and Bratislava. It operated only domestic services until its first international flight from Prague to Bratislava and on to Zagreb in 1930. After the dismemberment of Czechoslovakia in 1939 with the country splitting up into three parts, the airline was terminated. In February 1948, the Communist Party used the dismissal of right and center parties' ministers to take power in Czechoslovakia. Later it suspended some Western European and Middle Eastern routes, and, also because of the embargo imposed by the West on the Western-built aircraft spares etc., gradually replaced much of the fleet with Soviet-built airliners. The venerable Ilyushin Il-14 was even updated and built under license in Czechoslovakia as the Avia Avenue 14. In 1950, CSA became the world's first victim of a triple hijacking. The three Czechoslovak airliners flown to the American air base in Erding, near Munich, stirred the world on both sides of the burned-through Iron Curtain, and the case intensified the Cold War between East and West overnight. Three Douglas Dakota airliners landed in the morning of March 24 near Munich instead of at Prague. The first one, from Brno, at 8:20, the second one from Moravská Ostrava at 8:40 and the third one from Bratislava at 9:20. Two-thirds of the people on board were involuntary passengers who later returned to Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovak Communist government commissioned a Flight to Freedom book, stage play and film which celebrated the kidnapped returnees as heroes who had not allowed themselves to be swayed by promises of capitalist opulence. The non-returnees who requested political asylum in the American zone of West Germany were, on the other hand, proclaimed criminals, and the Prague regime vigorously requested their extradition although in vain. The pilot from Brno was Josef Klesnal, a former Royal Air Force pilot with 311 Squadron, who flew from Brno to Erding with a pistol at his head. In 1957 CSA became the third of the world's airlines to fly jet services, taking delivery putting in service the first Tupolev Tu-104A in 1957. CSA was the only airline other than Aeroflot to operate the Tu-104, which was the world's first successful jet airliner. The service operated by the Tu-104A from 1957 between Prague and Moscow was the first jet-only connection. The first transatlantic services started on February 3, 1962 with a flight to Havana, using a Bristol Britannia turboprop leased from Cubana de Aviación Cubden. CSA's transatlantic flights were code-shared with Cubana's own services to Prague, and Cubana's crews provided initial training and assistance in the operation of the Britannias. 1960 to 1990 From the late 1960s, CSA used a range of Soviet-built aircraft, and modifications of them, for its extensive European and intercontinental services which totaled some 50 international and 15 domestic destinations. The Britannia was replaced with long-range Ilyushin Il-18D turboprops at this time, and transatlantic routes were established to Montreal and New York, besides Havana. Apart from the Il-18D, Other aircraft in CSA's fleet included the short-range Tupolev Tu-134, the medium-range tri-jet airliner Tu-154, and the long-range jet airliner Ilyushin Il-62. As was the case in several other countries, the Il-62 was the first long-range jet airliner to be put into operation by CSA. The plane has a range of 10,300 kilometers and for some time was operated concurrently with the Il-18D. CSA operated a fleet of 21 Il-62s between 1969 and 1997, including 15 Il-62s and 6 Il-62 milliseconds, 15 of which were registered under the OK designation and 6 being leased from Aeroflot. A CSA-registered Il-62 and 3 Il-62 milliseconds were used as official Czech government transports between 1974 and 1996. The CSA Il-62 with call sign OKDBF was lost in an unfortunate accident due to language misunderstanding between the crew and the control tower during a nighttime approach to Damascus in 1975. After absorbing the heavier part of the Slovair operator and taking its Let L410A bullet turboprop commuters into its fleet in the early 1970s, the OSA partner Slovair became the world's first airline whose captain, Jaromír Ika, was slain at the controls by a hijacker, the event happening during a hijacking to West Germany. The aircraft involved, OKADN, is nowadays displayed in the open-air aircraft museum in Martin, Slovakia. The 1990s and 2000s. After the breakup of the Czechoslovak Federation, the airline adopted its present name in May 1995. By the late 1990s, most of the Soviet aircraft were either sold on to other airlines or retired, and replaced with Western ones such as the Boeing 737 and Airbus A310, A320, and short-range ATR aircraft. CSA became a full member of the SkyTeam alliance on October 18, 2000. As of March 2007, the airline was owned by the Czech Ministry of Finance, Czech Consolidation Agency and other Czech institutions. Also, it had 5,440 employees. On January 1, 2010, the whole non-office ground staff of CSA was transferred to the subsidiary or SA Support, now named Czech Airlines Handling SRO. In February 2010, or SAS sold off its duty-free shops to another entity. EU competition regulators began an investigation into Czech Airlines on February 23, 2011, stating that it doubted the loss-making concern could return to viability and comply with European Union state aid regulations. In late 2012, CSA Czech Airlines announced plans for expansion and to resume long-haul flights from summer 2013 with Airbus A330 aircraft between Prague and Seoul. Since March 2013, the company operates direct flights from Prague to Perm, Nice, Munich, Zurich, Seoul and Florence. Upon the completion of stock sales to Korean Air on April 10, 2013, CSA Czech Airlines is currently owned by Czech Air Aeroholdings, AS and Korean Airlines Company, Limited. On May 14, 2013, Czech Airlines Extraordinary General Shareholders Meeting elected Cho Won-tai as a new member of his supervisory board. Cho Won-tai replaced Pet Armitasek, who resigned from his position in the supervisory board. This personnel change took effect 1 June 2013 and is the result of Korean Air's equity purchase. Now belonging to the Hanjin Group, CSA's and Prague Airport's future is being discussed. CSA's fleet future is uncertain, but Korean Air's representatives have suggested diverting several Korean Air Airbus A330 orders to Czech Airlines or transferring retiring Korean Air Boeing 747-400s to CSA. Destinations. Czech Airlines currently flies to 89 destinations in 45 countries. Czech Airlines operates 32 monopoly routes from Prague Airport, including one domestic route to Ostrava, alongside the feeder route from Košice in Slovakia. These 32 routes represent about 40% of total flights and just over 30% of total capacity. On 27 other routes, representing around 40% of flights, the airline faces direct competition from one other carrier, while on the Prague to Amsterdam, Barcelona, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Madrid, Milan, Paris, London and Rome city pairs, The airline faces two or more competitors. Code share agreements Czech Airlines has code share agreements with the following airlines. Financial results: since its transformation to a joint stock company in August 1992, SA has never paid dividends. The sale of a minority share to Air France was a fiasco, leading to withdrawal of the French airline. Subsequently, Antoine Njacouba and Miroslav Karla stabilized the company and enlarged its fleet. In September 2003, Miroslav Karla was fired. New CEO, ex-minister Jaroslav Tvrdák, agreed with the unions to increase wages by a third and announced unprecedented enlargement of the fleet. In 2005, the financial situation sharply deteriorated. Although the sale of two ATR planes improved the operating result by 198 million Czech korun, the operating loss was almost $500 million Czech crowns, and the government of JRM registered trademark Apparelk replaced Jaroslav Tvrdák with Raduma a law equal or more than K. The airline generated further operating losses, despite revenue of 2.1 billion Czech korun from the sale of almost all real estate and 1.2 billion Czech korun from sales of planes. In 2005 to 2010, SA generated an operating loss of 3.4 billion Czech korun. Without long-term asset sales revenues, the operating loss would have been twice as large. The gross margin did not even cover the personnel expenses. Fleet. The Czech Airlines fleet consists of the following aircraft. At October 2013, the average age of the Czech Airlines fleet is 8.5 years. Korean Air suggested that some Boeing 747-400 aircraft may be transferred to Czech Airlines after they are retired by Korean Air. Historical fleet In-flight services, Czech Airlines offers buy on-board service on some flights in addition to free service. Frequent flyer OK Plus. The OK Plus frequent flyer program gives passengers OK Plus miles for flights with Czech Airlines, SkyTeam member airlines, other partner airlines or non-airline partners such as hotels, car rentals, banks etc. All these miles can be exchanged for perks such as bonus tickets, upgrades to business class, overweight baggage, additional baggage allowance, OK Plus gifts in the form of gift vouchers, access to airport lounges at Prague Airport, car hire and more. OK Plus membership cards, OK Plus membership, OK Plus silver, OK Plus gold, OK Plus platinum. The higher the card level, the greater the number of benefits passengers receive. Corporate identity. Uniforms Current Czech Airlines Group uniform was designed by Czech fashion company OP Prstežov Profashion. Borivage Klug from OP Prstežov, the manufacturer of the new uniforms, said that the collection was developed using the latest European knowledge and expertise in the area of production technologies. Logo A new look for Czech Airlines was revealed in September 2007. The new logo was created by Michael Kotyza, who works for the airline. Livery Subsidiaries Holidays Czech Airlines a carrier providing other entities with rentals of free capacity in its aircraft, so-called ACMI. Czech Airlines Handling provides ground handling or passenger and aircraft handling for many airlines operating flights from Prague/Ruzyně. All activities supervising, pre-flight preparation for crew, including route and meteorological informations, provision and service of ground power units, either mobile ground power units or air bridge units, are available. Aircraft fueling provided by either Shell, Esso or Lukoil. CSA Services provide services and personal consultancy, job placement, organization of specialized courses and training and other educational activities, RESP. Telemarketing services. Czech Airlines Technics provides aircraft maintenance and regular certified servicing for the Czech Airlines fleet and other air carriers, such as Air Berlin, Finnair, or Transavia. The below lists some of the main services provided by Czech Airlines Technics: base maintenance for the complete B737 and A320 families, base maintenance for ATR 42/72, base maintenance for the CFM56 engines, line maintenance for V2500 engines, component maintenance, non-destructive testing, other engineering services. Crew training at the Czech Aviation Training Center, operated by the state-owned enterprise Air Navigation Services of the Czech Republic, the airline provides training to future aircrew members, as well as refresher and further training to existing crews. In addition to Czech Airlines, services of the training center are also used by other airlines. Furthermore, courses OE flying without fear and OE steward tryouts are offered, as well as the adventure course OE flying for Euro. These special trainings are also open to public. KAL Catering joint venture with CSA Catering based in Václav Havel Airport Prague and Incheon International Airport. Charter flights. In June 2007, CSA signed a contract with Exintours, the largest Czech travel agency, extending their contract for another 3 years. In May 2010, CSA withdrew their last Airbus A310 and Exintours signed a new contract with Travel Service Airlines from winter 2010/2011. Foreign tour operators, as well as sports teams and companies, use Czech Airlines Euro unregistered trademark charter flights. 40% of Czech Airlines charter flights are for foreign clients. Czech Airlines charter flights carried 797,299 passengers last year. These are usually operated on an ad hoc basis. Czech Airlines operates chartered flights from Dublin on behalf of a number of Irish tour operators. An Airbus A321 is based in Dublin between October and December April. Head Office. Czech Airlines has its head office, the APC building, on the grounds of Václav Havel Airport Prague in Ruzyně, 6th District, Prague. On December 30, 2009, CSA announced that it will sell its head office to the airport for 607 million Czech korun. Incidents and accidents. CSA's last fatal accident was in 1977. On August 12, 1930, an OSA Ford 580 Tremotor crashed near Jihlava while attempting to avoid a thunderstorm. The aircraft struck the ground in poor visibility after a sharp turn to avoid a chimney and caught fire, killing 12 of 13 on board. On August 13, 1938, an OSA Savoia Marchetti S-73 struck a wooded mountain near Oberkirch on approach to Strasbourg en route from Prague via Paris, killing all 17 on board. The stewardess survived, but died a day later. On March 5, 1946, an OSA Junkers Ju 52/3M crashed near Prague after 2 landing attempts, killing 10 of 15 on board. The aircraft was operating a Paris-Strasbourg-Prague passenger service. On November 9, 1946, an OSA Douglas C-47A force landed near Dobrova Z after running out of fuel while in a holding pattern due to bad weather. All 18 on board survived, but the aircraft was written off. On January 25, 1947, an OSA Douglas C-47A was struck by a crashing Douglas Dakota while parked at Croydon Airport. There were no casualties, but the aircraft was written off. See 1947 Croydon Dakota accident. On February 13, 1947, an OSA Douglas C-47A crashed shortly after takeoff from Ruzyně Airport while on a training flight, killing all 3 on board. Improper maintenance was blamed, leading to a 5-day crew strike. On December 21, 1948, OSA Flight 584 was shot down near Pylos, Greece after the pilot became disorientated due to cloudy weather. When the pilot transmitted a flare, this was taken as a threat from the military exercise on the ground and the plane was fired upon from the ground and crashed, killing all 24 on board. The aircraft was operating a passenger service from Czechoslovakia to Israel. On February 27, 1950, an OSA Douglas C-47A struck Praded Mountain en route to Prague from Ostrava, killing 6 of 25 on board. On March 24, 1950, 3 Douglas DC-3s from Czechoslovakia were simultaneously hijacked. All 3 planes landed at the U.S. Air Force Base at Erding, West Germany. 26 of 85 passengers chose to stay in West Germany to escape from the communist regime in Czechoslovakia. On March 23, 1952, an OSA Douglas C-47 was hijacked by 4 people who demanded to be taken to Germany. The aircraft landed safely at Frankfurt with no casualties. On January 12, 1954, an OSA Douglas C-47A struck a chimney in power lines and crashed near Prague after nearly failing to take off, killing all 13 on board. On January 18, 1956, an OSA Douglas C-47A struck Mount Skapova after the aircraft was blown off course by strong winds, killing 22 of 26 on board. On November 24, 1956, an OSA Ilyushin Il-12 crashed into a field near Egesloe, Switzerland, killing all 23 on board. On January 2, 1961, an OSA Avia 14 crashed on Klimbout from Prague during a pilot training flight after failing to gain height on takeoff, killing all 10 on board. On March 28, 1961, OSA Flight 511 crashed in Grad-Currency-Fenberg near Na1 Quarter RNBERG during a Prague-Zurich service due to structural failure, killing all 52 on board. On July 12, 1961, OSA Flight 511 crashed near Ainford Airport due to possible crew error, killing all 72 on board. On September 10, 1962, OSA Flight 306 crashed near Slavkov while on approach to Brno, killing 11 of 34 on board. On March 16, 1963, an OSA Tupolev Tu-104A caught fire and burned out while being refueled at Santa Cruz Airport, India. The casualty count was unknown. On September 5, 1967, OSA Flight 523, an Ilyushin Il-18D, crashed on Klimbout from Gander International Airport while on a Prague-Shannon-Gander-Havana passenger service, killing 37 of 69 on board. The cause was never determined. On October 11, 1968, an OSA Avia 14-32A crashed near Vdis shortly after takeoff from Prague, killing 11 of 40 on board. On June 1, 1970, an OSA Tupolev Tu-104A crashed after 2 attempted approaches to Tripoli International Airport, killing all 13 on board. On August 18, 1970, OSA Flight 744, a Tupolev Tu-124V, landed wheels up at Cloton Airport after the crew became preoccupied with cabin pressurization problems. All 20 on board survived, but the aircraft was written off. On August 29, 1973, OSA Flight 531, a Tupolev Tu-104A slid off the runway while landing at Nicosia Airport. All 70 on board survived, but the aircraft was written off. On August 20, 1975, OSA Flight 540, an Ilyushin Il-62 flew into the ground during a nighttime approach to Damascus International Airport due to a misunderstanding between the pilots and the control tower that resulted in an incorrect altimeter setting, killing 126 of 128 on board in Syria's worst-ever air disaster. On July 28, 1976, OSA Flight 001, an Ilyushin Il-18B, which was operating as a scheduled domestic passenger flight from Prague's Ruzyně Airport to Bratislava Ivanka Airport, both in Czechoslovakia, which crashed into the Zlita copyright Pieski Lake while attempting to land in Bratislava. All 6 crew members and 70 out of 73 passengers died. On January 2, 1977, an OSA Tupolev Tu-134A collided on the runway at Ruzyně Airport with an OSA Ilyushin Il-18 that was taking off. All 48 on board the Tu-134 survived, but it was written off. The Il-18 was substantially damaged but was repaired and returned to service. It was retired in 1981 and is now in a museum. On February 11, 1977, an OSA Avia 14T struck trees and crashed near Ivanka Airport due to crew error, killing 4 of 5 on board. On October 11, 1988, an OSA Tupolev Tu-134A landed hard at Ruzyně Airport. There were no casualties, but the aircraft was written off and flown to Piestany where it is now a restaurant. On June 9, 2012, A Czech Airlines ATR 42-500 was destroyed in a hangar explosion and fire at Ruzyně International Airport. A second ATR 42 was also damaged by the fire. The cause of the fire is under investigation. References. Bibliography Zeman, Libor. Czech Airlines 1923-2003, for 80 years at home in the skies. Prague, Czech Airlines. External links, media related to Czech Airlines at Wikimedia Commons, official website, Czech Airlines on Facebook.